All right, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. We got some big news out of Miami. Obviously, this offseason, the Dolphins moved off of now former defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, so they needed to address that position in their coaching staff. And they recently made, I think, a fantastic hire to that effect. Let's get into the report and then we'll talk about it on the other side. This is according to The Athletic. The Miami Dolphins have hired Baltimore Ravens assistant coach Anthony Weaver as their next defensive coordinator, the team announced Saturday. Weaver will replace Vic Fangio, who mutually agreed to part ways with the Dolphins after spending one season as Miami's defensive coordinator. I'm excited to add Anthony to our staff, Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel said in a statement, not only for what he will bring to the Dolphins as a teacher and coach, but even more so who he is as a leader of men. He has a proven resume of success built on his personal investment in his players. Most importantly, he shares our belief that player development is the cornerstone to both team building and sustained excellence. All right, Miles, I know this was probably not the name a lot of Dolphins fans were expecting to hire, but I think it's a great move. I'm curious what your thoughts are, and you're the guy who knows a lot about the Ravens defense and Weaver, so I'll throw it over to you to get your thoughts. But first, Dolphins fans in the comment section below, grade the hiring of Anthony Weaver as defensive coordinator for Miami. But I'll throw in one caveat. Try and wait to the end of the video, get our takes on it, and then see if you agree or disagree. But either way, in the comment section, give us your grade of this hiring. A, if you love it. F, if you don't. C, if you're like, meh, in the comment section below. Miles, give me your thoughts on this hiring and just what it means for the Dolphins going forward.
Yeah, Nick, on that scale, I would give this a B with a tentative A to see how it goes because I think Weaver is coming from a coaching tree of the Mike McDonald era of defenses. This is going to be really good. And I think Mike McDonald came in, he was on fire every year he was a coach for the Ravens. They had a fantastic defense. This could almost be like a Sean McVay esque hiring. And the Dolphins are familiar with getting guys like that. The Shanahan tree with Mike McDaniel, they struck gold there. Why not try with Baltimore? Why not try to get a Mike McDonald acolyte from as a guy like Weaver and bring him into this organization? Now, also, I think that Weaver's ability to develop defensive linemen is a huge benefit here. And not only can he develop them, he does a fantastic job. You look at guys like Travis Jones for the Baltimore Ravens. You look at guys like Justin Madubuike, who had an absolutely phenomenal season this season. Michael Pierce is just a big mass in the middle, very hard to move. Broderick Washington has been great as well. The Ravens have an incredible defensive line of guys that they drafted and they developed, and that is all in because of a guy like Weaver. The other flip side of thing is one thing the Ravens have been great at, something that the Dolphins have already bit the bullet on, is they don't spend big money on big name edge rushers. They don't go out and get the Chubbs of the world and have to pay them 20, 50, $100 million, you know. They go and they get 1 year rentals and free agents and they really hyper utilize them and give them the best years of their careers. You hear about the Jadeveon Clowneys. Most people were like, meh. Now he had a fantastic year in Baltimore. You look at the Kyle Van Noys. He's bounced around teams. He really hasn't had as much success as when he was with the Patriots. Comes over to Baltimore. Absolutely phenomenal. You think about through the past, Houston came to Baltimore. Had a standout year there. Jason Pierre-Paul came to Baltimore. Had a standout year there. They are able to get these older veteran guys, use them how they are the most effective, and really kind of just develop them and get them there. And so that's what I think McDaniel's talking here. He says they have, an investment in their players. They want player development as the cornerstone of their team, and they want sustained excellence. I think that is what Weaver brings and what he has done in his roles on the Ravens defense. He's going to bring that to the defensive coordinator position. I'm sure he's going to have his hand in the defensive line heavily as well. So I think this is a great hire for the Dolphins. And I think you're going to see a tremendous improvement in the play of your defensive line.
Yeah, Miles, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I look at what Mike McDaniel is doing here with moving off of Vic Fangio and hiring Weaver as his next DC. I think it's just a smart, strong organizational decision to recognize they needed a pivot, right? In 2022 and 2023, the Dolphins were essentially based on their moves in the offseason, the trades they made, the deals they signed, were hyper aggressive all in. And the reality is they won 20 combined games in the 2 seasons, no playoff victories, no division titles, right? So they went all in and they didn't get to the Super Bowl, right? And that happens, but you have to pivot. And that's exactly what we're seeing from the Miami Dolphins. Instead of bringing a guy like Vic Fangio to sit there and say, okay, with all these talents, all this money we're going to put on defense, all right, is that good enough to win? And I think obviously injuries really played a negative role, so it could have been, but the reality was it wasn't. It wasn't good enough to win. It wasn't good enough to win a division title. It wasn't good enough to win a Super Bowl. It wasn't good enough to win a playoff game. So let's pivot. Let's focus on now, instead of going all in on a short period of time, let's extend our title window, and let's bring in a guy who's known for developing young talent. Let's bring in a guy who's known for getting the most out of older veterans on cheap deals like the Ravens have over the past few seasons. And if you look at the Miami Dolphins, they're going to have to rely on a lot of young guys on defense going forward, and they're going to have to rely on a lot of veterans cheap, because if you look at their salary cap situation, it's not great. Right now, they're 52 million bucks over the salary cap, right? That's a lot. And some of these big names, their biggest cap hits, right? You got Bradley Chubb, 27 million bucks. You got Emmanuel Ogba, 18 million bucks. You've got going down the rest of the list here. You got Jalen Phillips here in the last year of his deal, so he may be a free agent. They probably won't be able to re-sign him, right? You keep going down the list. They've got a lot of money tied up on the edge defenders, and they're going to have to decide. They got Wilkins coming up, dude. What are they going to do with Christian Wilkins, Zach Sealer, right? They got a lot of decisions they got to make. A lot of guys on this defense that were a big part of the Dolphins defense are not going to be there pretty soon. They may have to cut a lot of these guys this offseason. They'll certainly have to make decisions in the future as well. How do you get ahead of that? You bring in a guy who's known for developing young defensive line talent. You bring in a guy from a system that's known for getting the most out of veteran guys at the end of their careers on cheap deals. That's why I love this move by Mike McDaniel. I think it's one of those things to understand the situation you're in and making a great move to get ahead of potential problems. You never want to be reactionary, right? You want to be proactive, and that's exactly what the Dolphins were right here.